Hi, my name's Emma, and let's talk not spooky stuff. Welcome back to my channel. This is not a video I planned on making, but I did throw out the idea of doing my top 10 2020 films that are not horror, and a lot of you were very enthusiastic about seeing that, so that is what I'm giving you today. You ask, I deliver. A couple of things just before we get started. Don't worry, I'm not going to do the long disclaimer, but I just want you to know I am very much like you guys. I have eclectic taste, but with my non-horror kind of films, I like a little bit of offbeat journey, personal, emotional stories. So that's what you're going to get from me. That's my top 10 because that's the films I like. And of course, that's why you're watching it, because you want to see someone else's opinion. Hopefully. But the more important thing is I wanted to quickly touch on the whole 2020, 2019, 2021 release date. So this has been a little bit of an issue for me being in Australia. Sometimes we get films 6 months after they are released in America, and I know many other countries have a similar problem. So some of these releases you will see will have 2019 on it. That's either because it's done the festival rounds throughout 2019 and it's been released mid 2020, or it's been held and released a couple of months into 2020 in Australia. The reason I have to include these is because where else am I going to put them? If they don't count for 2020 films and I can't watch them in 2019, then they just don't get on any list. So it doesn't really make much sense. There's only 3 films in this whole list, but one of them had a worldwide release in 2020 anyway. As we know, films do festival rounds and sometimes that can last up to a year. So usually we'll see a couple of 2019s in 2020 regardless, but then also with the current situation of the world and the global pandemic, a lot of films got held back from distribution. So we're going to see a lot of 2019s and 2021, 2022. Are you with me? I actually asked on my Instagram about what you thought of this, and a lot of you agreed that sticking to the local release date is probably the best thing to do. And a strange example of this is recently I watched Nomadland, which is the most amazing film. If you haven't seen that, and you have the option, please see it. I believe it's being released in February in America, but definitely check it out. But it is, labeled as Nomadland 2020. And it wasn't released in Australia until January. So again, that's a 2021 film in 2020. So I'll save it for next year's list, hopefully, if you like this video. So if you do like this, please give it a thumbs up. And I'm sorry for all my rambling. Let's get straight into top 10. You aren't going to believe what my number 10 is. It's going to shock you. Maybe a little bit. If you told me that an Andy Samberg film would be in my top 10 of the year, I'd be very confused. But alas, Palm Springs gets my number 10 place. I went into this one blind, so I don't want to spoil the main plot line if you don't know anything. Basically, it's a comedy fantasy mystery about 2 people who meet at a wedding in Palm Springs, and things get very complicated when they're unable to escape the venue and themselves. The film was written by Sandberg and stars J.K. Simmons and Kristen Milioti, who, if you are into disturbing stuff like me, you may recognize from Black Mirror. Number 9, I can't deny the effects Promising Young Woman had on me and how I felt when the credits finally rolled. The film was a tough ride that challenged us all. And as I said, you know how I feel about the dark stuff. Written and directed by Emerald Fennell, the film follows Cassandra, a woman dealing with trauma and guilt who chooses to make vengeance her life mission. This film isn't what any of us expected because it's bigger in a way that's more complicated. Parts of this film felt completely predictable, but then others hit you out of nowhere. It was a thrilling experience. Some people are calling this a dark comedy, others a thriller. For me, it's genre bending, but its message is strong and clear. Bill Skarsgård, Tom Holland, Haley Bennett, Jason Clarke, Robert Pattinson. Yep, we're talking about it. The Devil All the Time, the psychological thriller based on the book of the same name. It's a haunting story of abuse and corruption following several different compelling characters, and all leading to one chilling conclusion. The film is set in rural Ohio and West Virginia over 2 generations. This one isn't for everyone, as most of this list isn't, but it's a chilling slow burn that rattled me up, and Tom Holland truly shined as Arvin. Speaking of not for everyone, another surprise for me was Black Bear. Now, I know I always talk about going in blind, but truly there is no other way to see this film, as it has some, let's say, dramatic shifts. This comedy drama is directed and written by Lawrence Michael Levine, and it stars Aubrey Plaza as Allison, a filmmaker who stays with a couple in their secluded cabin while working on new material. But Allison's presence conjures up some tension between the couple. It's pure chaos. What am I talking about? So much so that you don't even feel like you should be watching it. But as I said, there's more to this story. Please only watch this one if you're okay with experimental filmmaking. It's not gonna do anything for you if you like pure structure. Okay, we're already at number 6. Queen and Slim. Yes, this is a 2019 release for Americans, but this film didn't come out in Australia until March of 2020 when I saw it in theaters. Actually, it was one of the last films I saw in theaters before our initial lockdown. Queen and Slim is a harrowing tale about a first date that takes a devastating turn, resulting in two strangers becoming fugitives on the run. The film was directed by Melina Matsoukas, and it stars Daniel Kaluuya as Slim and Jodie Turner-Smith as Queen. I tell you what, when the lights came back on during this local premiere, there was not a dry eye. This film is powerful from its imagery to its message. Doubling back to Black Bear, man, do I like some cringy tension. And Uncut Gems is firmly in spot 5 for me. And yes, again, I know I hear many of you say that it didn't come out in 2019, but in Australia, it wasn't released until January of 2020, actually on Netflix. So it didn't even make my fave of 2019. So here it is right now at number 5. As most of you know, I love Adam Sandler, and his genius just shines in this intense crime drama thriller directed by the Safdie brothers. The film is about Howard Ratner, a New York gem dealer whose addiction to gambling sends his life into a rapid nosedive, and man does he grab the viewer by the scruff of the neck and pull them down with him. The film is about living on the edge, fueled by greed and pride. For me, it was highly predictable, but that's what made it so enjoyable, because in the real world, we know there's consequences, and for poor Howard, you know everything's creeping up on him. Word of warning, if you suffer from anxiety, I urge you to stay away from the caffeine when watching this. We're already at number 4, and this next film is again gonna surprise some of you. Those who watch my monthly wrap-ups, maybe you won't be surprised, but you'll be reminded about my emotional outburst at the next film, or should I say, documentary. Film can have a profound effect on its audience, but so can documentary, and the way it can illustrate a story, or better still, a person's legacy. Before watching this documentary, I had no idea who he was, but this film left me in tears. It's beautiful, raw, and real. Just to be able to have an idea of what he meant to the Latino community is just magic, pure magic. If you're looking for a little light in the dark, this documentary will provide you with hope for mankind. And best of all, it's available on Netflix in most countries. Mucho, mucho amor. Another light in a dark place for me during 2020 was the unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt versus the Reverend. This is a Netflix interactive special that followed up after the series ended. Obviously, the only reason I'm mentioning this is because I'm a huge fan of the original series, which is why this meant so much to me. It's like revisiting characters that you love and you missed for so long. It's what I needed peak 2020 during my darkest times. If you haven't seen the series before, I do urge you to watch it. It's a dark comedy about a woman who is rescued from a doomsday cult, and then she goes to live in New York City with these amazing characters. But the reason I say it's a dark comedy is because she deals with her trauma in a childlike way, because she never had the chance to grow up. pretty dark stuff, but it's actually a really funny series. And this interactive film let the audience decide what happens to her during her biggest adventure yet. I highly recommend this. If you love the series, don't put it off any longer. Okay, spot number 2. Those who know me were waiting for this moment. Yes, it's Kajillionaire. I have a soft spot for this film. Not only do I feel like I resemble Old Dolio myself, I mean, you can't unsee it, can you? It's not intentional. But this film strongly aligns with my appetite for offbeat, emotional drama with intense themes. And what can I say? I know what I like, and this is it. Kajillionaire is as offbeat as they come. Directed and written by Miranda July, the film stars Evan Rachel Wood as Old Dolio, a woman following in her family's footsteps as a con artist. She lives with her family who reject society, its rules, and social norms. And this sadly includes its relationships. But everything soon changes when her parents invite another woman to work with them. This film truly transports you into another place. I laughed, I cried, and I left so satisfied. Okay, this is it. A lot of people ask me, what film do you ever rate 5 out of 5? This next film I rated 5 out of 5. And I haven't been able to speak about it yet because I only just saw it. I actually started watching it in December and got interrupted, so I just finished it a couple of days ago. But it is a 2019 film labeled, but again, was released in 2020 in pretty much all countries. And this film, I can't even. It's so perfect. This is Sound of Metal. Nothing could prepare me for Sound of Metal. I knew that this would be an emotional journey, but it was so different to what I expected. The film is directed by Darius Marder and stars Riz Ahmed as a heavy metal drummer whose life falls apart when he begins to lose his hearing. It's a slow yet dramatic descent into losing yourself completely. The film ties in strong themes of addiction and grief. But not all is lost. It is a beautiful portrayal of life for so many people and what it actually means. As I said, I liked this film so much. I gave it 5 stars. For me, I wouldn't change a thing. Ahmed was stunning and he showed off his talent by saying so much in pure silence. Bet you weren't expecting that. That film, oh my gosh, I feel so personally connected to that for many reasons throughout my life, but I absolutely loved it. Again, these films aren't for everyone. This is what I like. I'm putting myself out there. I mean, I put Kimmy Schmidt at number 3. Come on. If you do want to comment, what about this film? I didn't include it because it probably wasn't in my top 10 or I didn't watch it. So just to clear that up, I get a lot of comments like, how come you didn't include The Wicked and The Dark? Because it wasn't in my top 20 of horror films. It's pretty simple. That's why I didn't include it. So that clears that up, hopefully. But no shade to anything. Obviously, we're just taking a select amount of films that we watched from the whole year. It's very hard to do, and I'm not usually one for ranking because of that. Sometimes you can have such a different experience in one film to another, or it just be completely different, and you feel like you should rate one on top of the other, but sometimes you just like things the same, just in a different way. Anyway, thank you for hearing me out, and I want to hear what you think about this list, but again, I want to see your own list down below, and I'm going to have one more top 10 list coming out for you very soon. My question to you is, can you guess what it is? I did the same last year. Anyway, I'll see you very soon. Thank you so much for being here. If you do want to subscribe, please do. And if you find that you aren't seeing me so much in your subscription box, I'm still doing 2 videos a week. It's just YouTube not liking me that much. So click the notification bell and turn all that stuff on if you do want to see me a little bit more, because I'm still pumping out content. I never stopped. I'll see you guys very soon. Stay spooky, or not spooky, a little bit drama filled, emotional based. Bye.